Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Cannon Chatter TV for episode 7 of the Rumour Mill. I'm G Talks Arsenal, obviously your regular host for these weekly transfer update shows. As you can see, I'm joined by obviously the one and only Bobby Brown, looking all tropical in tonight's show. How you doing, bro?
Yeah, man, I'm blessed, man. I'm just today's a beautiful day in Birmingham. I don't know what it's like for you guys, but it's the weather's been absolutely stunning. So I just thought I'd bring some Jamaican tropical flavour to this Arsenal chat. You know what I'm saying? And one of our fellow gooners in our Arsenal chat did actually post a picture from Arsenal Direct with this top on, with a face showing his disgust at the fact that Arsenal dare to sell something so hideous. But he didn't know that I'd already purchased it.
Okay.
So I thought I'd wear it tonight just for him. So this is for you, Sonny. This is for you, bro. I love it, mate.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm feeling it, man. I was having a conversation before we went on air, man. Like,
because DG don't like it either, so.
Yeah, I saw it. Like I said to you, I wasn't sure when I saw it. I thought it was a couple of seasons ago, but you said it was last season, and I was really looking forward to them releasing it. But for whatever reason or another, it just never came out. So I kind of forgot about it. But when I see it pop up on the screen when we went, obviously before we came live, I was like, nah, I'm feeling that. That's my vibe, man. Do you know what I mean? Tropical Jamaican colors. It's it's combining the Caribbean and Arsenal. You can't go wrong, man.
You can't go wrong. It's got Jamaican colours in there, man. The heritage is just
that's it.
Home, that's it. Perfect for me.
Wicked. Well, you know what? We'll run the intro and then we'll get right into things.
Arsenal have gone through an entire league campaign without losing. The first time it's happened.
Yes. Like I said, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Cannon Chatter TV, episode 7, believe it or not, of the Rumour Mill, where we're basically going to be chatting all things Arsenal transfers. And you know what, boy, it's so far, it's been somewhat of definitely a roller coaster of a transfer window. It's almost like it started blisteringly quick. Obviously, you know, we got some signings wrapped up pretty early. Obviously, Turner was announced from like a deal, you know, in January. Marquinhos was pretty much over the line quite early. Fabio Vieira came out of nowhere, and we obviously secured the signature of Gabriel Jesus, which was pretty much expected. And I think over the last week or so, it's not been as positive. There's been obviously the Rafinha saga, which we're going to briefly touch upon, and obviously most recently, we were reported to be, strongly linked with, Martinez, the versatile defensive player, I could say, at Ajax, which looks like he's on the verge of going to Manchester United. So I don't know about you, Bobby, but I've definitely noticed somewhat of a shift from, not to say that Twitter is ever positive, but it was feeling really positive, after the kind of, like I said, the surprise announcement of Vieira, securing the signature of Jesus. And all of a sudden, last week or so, I feel like the tide has somewhat shifted back to kind of the negative narrative of we're not doing enough, we're not doing it quick enough, we're not signing the right players, we've missed out on our targets, we're getting rejected. So just quickly, because obviously the first thing that we're going to talk about, you don't have to talk about these two players specifically, Rafinha and Martinez, but how are you feeling over the last week or so? Because since we obviously did this show last week, we haven't signed anyone, and generally the feeling on the timeline is, somewhat the brakes have been put on. So how are you feeling about the transfer market up until this point, particularly over the last week or so?
If I'm totally honest, I'm feeling really positive, especially after seeing them all going off to America on the plane.
100%.
They just all looked happy, and I was just, actually before we came on, I was just going through some of Arsenal's tweets, the little videos of them on the plane, Nelson having a laugh with Eddie Nketiah, and El Neni playing with Cedric having a laugh. It just looks like it's a good group. I noticed Vieira and Martinelli seem to be getting quite close. You know, Chaka and Len over there having a laugh. So it looks like we've got a good group there, man. And they're going away. Our new signings are going to gel well. I don't think there's any rush. I think the players that we wanted to sign quickly, we've signed quickly. And then we're probably going to wait and see what happens. We did exactly the same last window because that's how the transfer market works. So I'm not feeling any pressure at all because the only thing that we really needed to do was buy backups and buy a number 9. We bought a number 9 and we bought a couple of backups. So going forward, we'll actually be okay. But I know that we definitely do need to strengthen because we want to secure top 4. We want to push for the Premier League title. We want to push for the big trophies. So and other teams are strengthening as well. So, but at the same time, I'm not stressed by it because you know we all saw what Man United did last year, and it didn't help them. So
same with Chelsea as well.
Exactly. So sometimes signing loads of shiny new toys isn't what's best. And I trust Mikel Arteta totally, and they do. So whatever their plan is, I'm behind. As you can see, I'm really relaxed. I'm in party mode. I'm just looking forward to seeing them in the flesh because as you know, I go to as many games as I can every season. So I just can't wait for the season to start to go and actually see them. And I am excited because I know that we are going to sign more players. So and those are going to be good players. So for me, I'm not feeling negative at all. Rafinha and Martinez totally don't really bother me in the slightest because the positions that they will play, we've got world-class players there already in Gabriel, Kieran Tierney and Saka and Martinelli on the left. So I don't think losing out on them players for me is a massive shame. And to be honest, if you wasn't on Twitter, you wouldn't even know that we've been in for those players. So so it's much of a muchness. And we're going to be linked with a lot of players. There's going to be a lot of stories, isn't there? I'm not going to get carried away with any of them. I've done it before. I'm kind of a bit too old in the tooth now to get carried away with all these kind of rumours and stuff. So, like Dobbsy says, I'm waiting for them to be holding the shirt and doing kick-ups on the Emirates turf. You know what I'm saying? That's when I believe it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, let's go.
100%. Yeah, you know what? For me, it's like, there've been transfer windows in the past where I've got really stressed, I've got really impatient, but I feel like this one for me has been the one where I've been the most relaxed. I think what's more stressed me out is just the kind of general vibe on the timeline, and I don't really know why I'm surprised because obviously social media, is always going to bring out certain sections of the fan base. And if you look closely, there are a lot of Arsenal fans out there that are very logical, very rational, and you can see that with their comments and their tweets, etc. But there does seem like there is a significant amount that are just completely illogical, irrational, emotional, overacting, and it's just it can get draining. So sometimes I do tend to just put my phone down and just kind of switch off because it can kind of get to you. But I think like with the whole Rafinha thing, I got so frustrated because like last night, I think it was last night or day before, it started to transpire that, Martinez looked as though, he was or he is going to be signing for Manchester United. And obviously like all these transfers, you read into them. Do you know what I mean? It's like you look at the Rafinha deal, you look at the Martinez deal, and you start to read between the lines. You see what the reporters are saying. And I can understand like an initial, maybe flat feeling if you're invested in a player or you particularly want that player to sign for your club. But when you actually look at the Rafinha potential deal, first of all, I don't think it was clear that Arsenal were not targeting a right winger this summer, and that's mainly because we're overstocked in that area. But also, when you actually look at it, people talking about Arsenal rejected, Arsenal this, Arsenal that, etc., etc. The likes of Chelsea came in, trumped our bids, put £65 million on the table, agreed terms with Leeds, and he still chose Barca. I don't understand how, as an Arsenal fan, you can blame Arteta, Edu, or the club when Rafinha, the player, clearly his dream was to play for Barcelona. Yeah. Like it didn't matter what Chelsea did, it didn't matter what Arsenal did, it didn't matter what United, Man City, anybody did. His dream was to play for Barcelona, which is why that transfer saga went on for so long, because He was just basically holding out for them. So I don't quite understand why the fan base is so annoyed and eager to point the finger at the likes of, you know, Arteta and Edu, because for me that was clearly a personal choice on behalf of Rafinha and his team. That's where he wanted to play. And now when I move over to the Martinez one, I'm like, and I put a tweet out, and it seemed to rattle a couple of fans, particularly Arsenal fans as well, because I said, like, I don't understand why some of these Arsenal fans are moaning about missing out on Martinez, a player that most of them didn't even know existed before the transfer window had opened. And don't get me wrong, I was taking the piss a little bit, but there was an element of truth in it, because I think a lot of us don't watch European football, and some of us that watch European football, we weren't massively aware of who he was or how good he was until the links came about. The other side of it is, like you pointed out, we have players in every single position that he plays if we had signed him. So this notion or narrative that if we had signed Martinez, he would have walked into this squad or walked into the team is absolute nonsense, because there's no way he's walking into a squad over Gabriel, over KT, or over Partey, the three positions that he can kind of predominantly play. I understand signing him would have added depth and strength to the squad, but come on, it's not to the point where you need to lose sleep over. You know, if we'd missed out on somebody like Gabriel Jesus, and then it was like, okay, where do we go now in terms of a centre forward? I could understand maybe, you know, people getting a little bit in their feelings, but the Martinez reaction, I just did not get whatsoever. And lo and behold, today we're linked with Zinchenko, you know, and can you see any tweets about Arsenal fans being annoyed at missing out on Martinez? And that's why it's just ridiculous. Like, the overreaction on the timeline is just crazy. And it's literally, it just goes from one to another. So, yeah, we're not going to spend any more time on Rafinha and Martinez, because you know what? Those deals are done. Rafinha's off to Barca. Martinez looks like he's off to United. We wish him all the best, but, you know, we don't want him to do too well. So we'll go to the comments, and we've got Ellie here from the group chat. Big up yourself, Ellie. Evening, guys. Look at Bobby bringing the vibes. DG and Sonny will be pleased, for real. They'll be absolutely loving that. Listen, just hit up Bobby for the details, and he can sort you out with one. Yeah, DG and Sonny.
Sort you out real quick. Get a team of Jamaican tops.
100. Barry Fitzpatrick, good evening to you. He says, evening all.
What up, Barry?
Thanks for joining. Tyler from the group chat, wicked Tyler, thanks for joining us again. You're here. How's Ellie here before me? F-U-C-K. Tyler also saying, loving the Jamaica vibes. 100%. That's what I said. Bring the energy, man. I'm not sure how. Maybe I'm biased in it because I'm Caribbean, but I'm not sure how you can't like that top. It's like a combination of JA and Arsenal all in one. I absolutely love it. Russ Morgan here saying, hi, chaps. Good evening to you. And the last comment to come in, Jared Arundel. Evening all. Evening to you. I think that's a new name, so welcome to the channel. It's definitely the first time I've seen it pop up, so if you haven't already liked the video, please do like the video, and if you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe to the channel. But definitely a very warm welcome to you. Now, sorry, let me just take that off, comment off. So the next thing we're going to get into, Bobby, is a couple of players. Now, we spoke about this last week where we were talking about, you know, there being a difference of opinion between Arsenal fans. A lot of Arsenal fans saying, why on earth are we taking the likes of Leno, Torreira, you know, Pepe, Trusty, etc., to America or Germany, and they clearly don't have a future at the club, etc., etc. I mean, you know, obviously had a slightly different opinion to that. Now, all these players, well, apart from Trusty, I believe, all these players have actually, you know, boarded the plane. They've been pictured, you know, Baltimore in the United States on tour. However, all of them have been heavily linked with moves. So you've got Leno, who's heavily linked with a move to Fulham. At the moment, it's reported that the only thing stopping that move is potentially a fee that the two clubs can't agree on. Torreira supposedly has agreed verbal terms with Valencia, but just like these Spanish and Italian clubs all the time, they don't want to cough up the money, and Arsenal are not really backing down in terms of their asking price, which I believe is about 15 million. Pepe only today has been linked with a move to Sevilla. Reports are saying that Arsenal will be willing to accept nothing less than 25 million for them to kind of secure his services. Trusty, the American centre-back, He is on the verge, I believe, of joining Birmingham City on loan, which is quite interesting. And lastly, Balogun is also reported to be going on loan as soon as he returns from the US tour. Give me your opinion on these players and, you know, their potential moves. How are you feeling about the futures of these Gooners at the moment?
Well, Leno, I know Leno has received a lot of stick, to be honest, obviously because he's not as good with his feet
Yeah,
as all these modern goalkeepers. But I've always liked him, and I thought that he could have been a steady backup for Ramsdale for the remainder of his career. He's international, good pedigree. He's never really let us down, apart from the odd mistake every now and again. I know he's not reliable, but that's the reason why we've got Ramsdale. But you know, I'd have kept him if he would have stayed. A bit like I'd have kept Martinez to be the backup to Leno when we sold Martinez to Aston Villa. So I think that top teams should have two top keepers. You know, I'm not sure on this new American guy that's coming. Doesn't look like we're going to be.
People calling him Tina Turner already, man. Jeez.
Exactly. So I'm not quite sure what's going to happen there.
Yeah.
Lucas Torreira, I've never been a fan of. I've never rated him. I watched him at the World Cup for Uruguay. And in that team, in their defensive team, he looks okay.
Yeah.
But for Arsenal, we need a player who's good on the ball, who's a defensive midfielder, but they're good on the ball because Arsenal are a possession-based team. And that's the reason why Emery never played him at DM, because he knew he wasn't good enough on the ball, and it's why he only ever played Xhaka or Guendouzi there.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
And so for me, I've never. I mean, I like his spirit. He's got that Uruguayan fighting spirit, hasn't he?
He's tenacious, isn't he? He's tenacious.
South American players have, and for Arsenal, he never let us down either, did he? He was always decent on the pitch. He was always a little animal. But for me, going forward, he was not our answer at number 4. That defensive midfield place. I'd much rather have Xhaka there than him, or around Nene. So yeah, Pepe is another one who I've never been a fan of from the first minute we signed him. A bit like Aubameyang. I just don't rate him. I don't think he's good. I don't think he's got any end product. I don't think he's that. I don't actually even think he's very good technically, because if you watch him, he only ever uses one part of his foot. Like, you don't see him hit it with the outside of his foot. It's always his instep. Like
was that prior to his move, or is that just no? So sorry, is that since his move, or is that just an opinion you've had of him? Period.
Well, when you remember when all the noise, when we signed him, because remember that signing came out of nowhere, didn't it?
Yeah.
Because he was going to Napoli, wasn't he? If you remember right. Then apparently Arsenal have come in with a bid, and we're having him. But I used to watch his clips and think, he looked okay, but as soon as he's put an Arsenal shirt, and I've never ever been impressed. I was there at his debut. He scored the 2 free kicks in the Europa League.
Yeah.
Even though he scored the 2 free kicks, his performance was poor. He kept on giving the ball away. When he was trying to pick people out, he's overhitting his passing, and he just wasn't a very good footballer. He didn't have a very good football brain. You know what I'm saying? We've had good footballers on the right wings. You know what I'm saying? Who create, who score, who do various different things, and I just don't think he fits the mold. And I think Mikel Arteta's seen that straight away, and he's not having the bar of him. And the fact that a kid from the academy, Saka, even though he's world class already,
benched him, man.
He totally ate his food.
Yeah,
says it all, really, doesn't it? You know what I'm saying? He doesn't even get a look in. Even when Saka has been really tired, Pepe doesn't even get a look in.
I said it's funny because I said something at the end of last season, and it was when obviously Saka obviously had a little bit of a dip in form, whether it was fatigue, whatever. He plays a lot of the games, and there were even times when he was injured, and Arteta's kind of instinct or kind of first point of call wasn't to go to Pepe. It was to kind of switch things up, and I just said to myself, look, if he can't get into this side in terms of our attacking options this season, I just can't see him having a future at the club. And I have to differ to you in that when we were first linked with him, I was absolutely sold on the idea of him coming. I thought he was going to be one of the players that was going to definitely kind of elevate the team, take us a level up. His numbers in the French league were fantastic. He looks a phenomenal player. But having said that, I never really watched him in many live match, scenarios. A lot of it was highlights, and he was always part of the highlights because, he did have, times during the game where he affected it, whether it was a set piece, whether it was a goal or an assist, etc. So I was blown away, by the signing. I was like, yeah, we're leveling up. But
I think that's what the thing is with highlights, though, isn't it? You can make highlights
completely out of context
because it's exactly the same as me. I'm exactly the same as you. I didn't really know anything about him, even though his numbers were good in France. I still didn't really. He wasn't one of those players that made me think, I must watch Lille to see what he's like, So, when he come now, I just wasn't.
He's just not done it, has he? He's
just not done it at all. But
in terms of, Trusty. Now, before you go on to Trusty, I'm seeing a lot of people online saying that this signing is just a PR thing. That Arsenal are just looking to sell shirts in America. What is your opinion of this? Because it's a bit of a weird one. Like we, by all accounts, signed him in January, announced him in January. And to be fair, when it comes to announcement videos, he got a really shoddy deal because he didn't even get an announcement video. He basically got like a picture. And I think he announced himself in a video, like welcoming himself to the club. And then since then, he hasn't been at London Colney. He's not been to Germany. He's not going to the US, and he's reportedly going straight out on loan to Birmingham. What do you make of this signing? Like, is it just a PR stunt, like for us to sell shirts in America? Like, what's going on?
I mean, I even looked at his background. He hasn't played a lot of games for a 23-year-old.
No.
So I can honestly say I have absolutely no clue what this signing is about.
Seriously, man.
You can't really judge a player off clips, but
no, you can't.
He doesn't look amazing in his clips either.
No.
So I don't know.
I will say though, you know what? The fact that he's, like I say, reports he's going to Birmingham City on loan for the season. I must admit, like I will keep tabs on how he's doing.
Yeah.
Just because obviously he's a gooner, and I am honestly intrigued as to why we signed him, because usually like when you sign a player like Turner from the MLS, you get the onslaught of articles about how good this player is, how highly rated he is. There's been nothing about this geezer. Like literally nobody's come out and said, yeah, he's like the best defender in MLS. He's a star for the future. There's just been
nothing.
Yeah, it's almost like Arsenal have just like done this geezer a favor. It's like they owe these dad some money or something. I don't know. You just don't understand. I don't get why this transfer was made. But it'd be interesting to see how.
You never know. Maybe they're looking for the next Alphonso Davies.
This is it. Who knows? He might all surprise us. But I'll definitely keep tabs on his performances. But yeah, lastly, Balogun. What are your thoughts about him going on loan? Needs a loan or have him around?
Yeah, I've always rated Balogun. I think his skill set's probably better than Eddie's, but it's probably his desire and his commitment at this time. He's just a couple of years behind Eddie, isn't he? So, give him a loan. He's just signed a deal. Give him a loan, get him out there so he can play 30, 40 games for the year, and that will definitely improve him. And if he's not our level, at least then playing a lot of games, he could probably do an Ollie Watkins, go to another team.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And come back a few years later, maybe get a buyback.
The buyback clause, yep.
You never know. You never know with him because he has got ability, but he didn't really set the world on fire at Middlesbrough last year. But he didn't get a lot of minutes, and maybe he didn't suit the manager's style of play. So get a good loan with a manager that actually backs him.
Yeah,
he could end up shining. Yeah, because I rate the boy, man. I've always liked him since he was a kid, to be fair.
You know what, football though, it's a funny old game, because I actually remember when the two contractual issues were happening kind of side by side. It was Balogun and Eddie. I don't necessarily mean that the contracts were running out at the exact same date, but there was a lot of speculation about both of them are going to run out their contracts and leave the club for free. And there was a massive wave of support for the Arsenal club to obviously, tie down Balogun, whereas the Arsenal fan base at the time couldn't care less whether Eddie stayed or not. And it's shifted like 360 because obviously I think most Arsenal fans will tell you that they know Balogun's got quality, but he's not ready for the first team. And I think, obviously with Eddie now, he signed a new contract, and he had a really good end to last season. And even in the recent friendly, yes, it's a friendly, we know that, but he looked really dangerous, really effective up top with Gabriel Jesus. Their link-up play looked phenomenal at times. So it's just funny how things do shift so quickly in football. It's like Balogun's gone from being, we've got to tie him down, give him first team minutes, bring him into the first team, to, he needs a loan to further develop. So it's a funny old game, man. Things just change so quickly, man.
Change all the time, man.
Literally. We'll go back to the comments quickly. We've got here Daddy Faz, wicked for joining us again. Evening, guys, dipping in and out again due to work commitments, but we'll try and stay tuned in as much as possible. Thank you so much. No need to explain yourself, bro. Love your support. Appreciate it. Lee here, very own Cannon Chat member. Good evening, guys. Do you have any information on Patino not in the USA and missing in the under-23 friendly yesterday? No idea, but we will. If we do have time, we'll definitely come back to that. Or quickly, Bobby, give me your thoughts on that, because that was something that we did discuss in the group chat. Some people weren't happy that, we took 5 goalkeepers to the USA, but the likes of Patino and Aziz and some of the other, Hutchison, for example, weren't part of that squad. What are your thoughts? Do you think that's a missed opportunity in potentially taking those youngsters, or are you just kind of happy to support what the club are doing with regards to those players?
No, I definitely don't think it's a missed opportunity. Maybe within the club, those players aren't deemed ready for first team. Maybe it's just that simple. We're playing against Orlando, Chelsea, and Everton, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to be decent level, because the American league, their league is currently active. So
yeah, it is. Yeah.
The American team will be fit, and then obviously Chelsea and Everton are gonna have a decent level of player. So we're gonna need to be, they're gonna be our only three games other than the Seville game before the season starts. So I think he needs to start looking at the players who are going to be doing something this season, and getting them up to speed, getting them into tune. With Patino, I was really surprised with him against Nuremberg.
So, he was all right, when he came on.
He looked good because last season I thought that he was a bit too slight for the Premier League.
Yeah, he's bulked, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. So, but he's because he's got a bit bigger. Maybe, who knows? Maybe they've got a loan ready for him, or you never know what's going to go on. Like a bit like what they did with Norton Coffee, because he's another one I noticed wasn't on the Norton Coffee wasn't on the tour to America, even though
I think he might still be on holiday,
because he
just won the under was it the under-21s Euros?
Yeah, the under-21 Euros. I don't know when he's due back, but
yeah, I'm not sure.
There's a few things with the youngsters. Maybe sometimes it's a case of not rushing them, but the fact that Mikel Arteta spent 4 years with the likes of Gabriel Jesus and Phil Foden and all them other youngsters at Man City, I think he kind of knows how to develop.
100%.
So I think he knows what he's doing, because there is certain players that are there, like Saliba's there, and Nelson's gone. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Marquinhos is there, so it'd be nice to see him get a good run and some good minutes. So yeah, man, it's all good. It's all positive.
Good, man. Definitely. Big Mike's, yes, from the group chat. Big up yourself, man. Big up the gents. He says.
Big up, Mike.
Definitely, man. And we've got Gary here, all the way from the States. Hello, gentlemen and chat room. Good evening to you, man. So yeah, next point I want to get onto. So now we're really going to kind of get into the big news that broke today, and obviously some positive news as well. I don't think you was around when this kind of broke. I think he was off busy. Yeah, he was busy working, etc. I think that is the pro. They're definitely the pro from working from home. I'm always on Twitter. But yeah, the news broke earlier, and to be honest, it came out of nowhere. Literally, and it always happens with Orny, doesn't it? He just literally just tweets out of nowhere, and as soon as you see his face pop up on your notifications, you think, something juicy might be happening. But yeah, Ornstein basically tweeted earlier that Arsenal are in direct conversation and talks with Manchester City over the potential signing of Zinchenko, a player that we have been linked with, a player that we have covered on previous kind of Rumour Mill or Arsenal transfer shows. It's weird because obviously we were heavily linked with him, and then the links kind of died down, and then all of a sudden it's come out. And with Orny, when he tweets. That there is definitely an element of truth in it. He only really said that talks had begun. No bid had been submitted at this point. But yeah, what are your thoughts about Zinchenko?
I mean, I like him as a player. We've spoke about him before. You asked me the
Yeah.
same question. I said I like him as a player. I definitely think he's Arsenal type of player as well. I do think there's better players of his type out there that we could get, like Gomez. I think he probably suits us a bit more techie, a bit more. I don't know. I know people say that Zinchenko is prem proven, but I'm not a big fan of that saying. I don't think that players need to be prem proven. I think you just need to be good. Like, I can name 100. Well, I probably couldn't name 100 because my memory's not that great. But, there's a lot of players that have just walked into this league and acted like they're just, all they need is 10 teammates, a ball and a pitch. You know what I'm saying? Because it's all about levels at the end of the day, and the level of player that we're looking at. I don't think they're going to need too much time to settle, just like they did, like he did with Thomas Partey. And I don't think Thomas Partey's was a technical issue. I think Thomas Partey was more a physical issue. It was more his body needed to get ready for the demands of
Premier League, man. Yeah,
because he hadn't played for the whole season previously. I think he'd made like 6. I think he'd started 6 games the season before he came to Arsenal. Most of the time he came off the bench. So yeah, for me, I'd much rather have Gomez, but Zinchenko totally makes sense. He could obviously be coming into cover for KT, but as people have said in the chat, he could, if he was to start instead of KT, it wouldn't be a downgrade. It would be someone who's just as good. Because if you remember in the final game of the season for Man City, they took is it Cancelo? I think they might have took Cancelo.
Yeah, they took him off. Yeah.
And put Zinchenko on, and Zinchenko got them back to 2-2. And eventually they won the league. So, he is a top player. Obviously, what's been said as well that he could play the number 8 role as well. But I think I'd want someone who actually plays there to be that player that we want there, like a top level, like a Tillemans, like a I'd rather want a top level midfielder. But who knows what Mikel Arteta's thinking? Mikel Arteta is probably thinking, with what Xhaka gives me when he's there, if Zinchenko's there, he'd probably give me just that little bit more. So maybe if he's just that little bit of extra legs, and he has got a bit of guile as well, Zinchenko. Yeah. He does know where to go. He does pop up with the odd goal, and he does create. So he could be. It's a very smart signing. Very smart signing. It would elevate the squad. As Stephen has said many a time, it raises the floor as well.
Yeah.
Now we're not looking at Nuno Tavares coming in. We're looking at a Zinchenko or a Gomez.
Yeah.
Exciting times, isn't it? This is the reason why I'm not getting too carried away with rumours, because I know that when our team is now looking, when they're doing Mikel now looking at players, they know what level they're looking at, what level they need to make the squad better. So we're in good hands, man. And this is a good sign if this is the kind of player that we're looking for. So I'm all for it, man. All for it.
You know what I mean? Like I said, when Orny tweets, he tweets. Do you know what I mean? He's not one of these journalists that it's just about being first. He's very reliable when it comes to kind of all the information that he puts out there. It's interesting because what he also put in the article that I read was that Zinchenko is looking for a more prominent role. He's looking for more minutes, more football. And also that, Manchester City are willing to sell if the valuation for the player is met. Now, that is an interesting one because I know previously, I don't know how true it is, but I heard that he is looking more of a role in midfield rather than left back. When he plays for his nation, he has played on the left, but he's also played. When I saw him in the recent qualifiers for the World Cup, he was playing in the number 8 position, and he was absolutely brilliant. He's pulling the strings. Yes, he was playing. Some people might say Scotland, etc., but he was absolutely phenomenal in the games that I watched. Now, are you concerned? Because there's been a lot of talk about, obviously, Arsenal not paying over the odds for players and failing to meet, teams' valuations and stuff like that. But first of all, the first thing, are you, obviously him coming in, you see him more as a left back cover, not predominantly as a number 8, like you said. What would be a reasonable price, or what would be a fair price for you in terms of valuation for Zinchenko?
I think it totally depends on his contract situation, but also the fact that he's he's been in this country a long time, hasn't he? So doesn't he count as home ground?
I don't know. I know he was signed a while ago, and I think it was for less than 2 million, which is phenomenal business for Man City, whatever they sell him at. But I'm not sure if he qualifies as a homegrown or player or not. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, but so he's he's got that. He's got a lot of something about him, hasn't he? Which would probably, the fact that he's an international, he plays for his country regularly. He's the captain of Ukraine.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's captain of Ukraine. He's won the Premier League 4 times.
4 times, yeah.
He's got a decent level, hasn't he? He's got pedigree, so they could probably ask for 30 million for him. But 30 million for a backup left back is quite expensive, isn't it? You know what I'm saying?
This is it, though.
I'd be looking to play more in the 20, max 25 region. They're probably going to want 30, 35. But if you're looking at the
one, because it's like you said, it's like it all depends on how Arteta sees, Zinchenko coming in, what he sees him doing in terms of being part of the squad. So it's hard, is he going to come in, and directly compete, with KT for that left back position? But we've also heard that the player himself prefers more of a central role in midfield. Are we bringing him in as maybe just for his versatility? So he might not be a first team player, but we do know we've got a player on our hands that can slot into left back and also slot into left side of midfield. And yet we're going to make an additional signing in the midfield. So it's really hard to predict in terms of the Zinchenko links. But obviously we were linked with Zinchenko, Fabrizio is almost like a competition. He had to put out a tweet after Ornstein to say, look, guys, I'm still here. He put out a tweet and he basically said the same thing with regards to Zinchenko, but also stated that Sergio Gomez, the 21-year-old Spanish left back from Anderlecht, who obviously plays his football in Belgium, is one of the players, not that we're in talks with, but one of the players that is on our shortlist as an alternative to the Martinez deal that's fallen through. I know this is a player you love. Tell me why you love him so much.
Grew up in the Barcelona school. Played in the Barcelona B team actually. And was like I always heard his name because obviously the name Sergio Gomez is another Sergio Gomez. So I always kind of used to think it was that one, but he's quite spoke about it. He was quite good, so I was quite surprised when he went to Anderlecht. I can honestly say I haven't kept an eye on him since he's been at Anderlecht, but I know he can play in centre midfield as well. He played a lot for the youth Spanish teams as well. That's kind of where he came to prominence for me. He played in the same team as Ceballos in one of the under 21.
Okay, yeah.
So that's kind of
pretty like successful Spanish side that was, yeah.
And he was actually playing centre mid in the game. So I've read since he plays left back. So, but I've always said that good players can play anywhere. You could literally put them anywhere and they'll be just as good. Probably not as mobile, probably not top tier in that position, but they do 6, 7 out of 10 for you most weeks. And Sergio Gomez seems to be that type of player. When I was looking at it, because when I saw that we was linked with him, I started to look him up a bit more. I saw that he's actually been linked with like AC Milan and a few of the, I think Valencia tried to get him. I think, so he's obviously known. He's obviously didn't want to take the punt on him initially when he was in the Barcelona B team, but he's gone to Anderlecht and he obviously looks a player. So for people to be talking about him now, so I'd be definitely happy. He seems like a Mikel Arteta type of player as well. Obviously, grew up at Barcelona himself, young Spanish boy, midfielder. So
should be easy to get him over here. Do you know what I mean? Should be easy. But you know what? It's interesting because when you look at obviously we don't want to get too sucked into obviously rumors and stuff like that. But when you look at the profile of player, there is a common thread, a common theme here. Like you've got Martinez, who can play central midfield, centre back, left back. You've got Zinchenko, who can play, number 8 position, left back. You've got Sergio Gomez, who's playing left back. I didn't even know he could play centrally. But, you're starting to see a trend in terms of the type of player that Mikel Arteta is definitely going for. So, I think the fact that Ornstein has obviously put the tweet out, I think tells us a lot about the report. It's reliable. He's a player that we've been tracking for a long time. Strong link. So I'm hoping this is one that we can get over the line. Because I actually rate him. I think he's a quality player. In terms of, I think he is good enough to come into the Arsenal team and displace Kieran Tierney, in my opinion. And I mainly say that because of the fact that Kieran Tierney cannot finish a full league season. And it's a big problem, you know. I love KT, but the last 2 seasons, he's literally got injured at the exact same point of the season. And it's always the money end of the season. At a crucial time when we're literally either last season, it was pushing for that top 4. The season before that, we were pushing for a European place. And his absence was just, it's credit to him because it just shows how important a player he is for Arsenal. But it's also very frustrating because you want your best players to be reliable in terms of obviously playing. And obviously he can't help that his body's breaking down. But we definitely, as a football club, you know, have to have a contingency. We have to have something in place where we're not literally on our knees every season, you know, when KT, you know, gets an injury. So I think he's a quality signing. I'd be really pleased if we can get him over the line. And like I said, I love the fact that he's versatile. In the fact that I've seen him play in that 8 position, which I really didn't know he could do so well. And what I saw of him in the 8, I'm not to say I would be happy for him to be our permanent number 8, but he's definitely a player that can come in and do a job there and do it really, really well. And he's got a touch of class about him. He just oozes like kind of class when he's on the ball, pulling the string. So he is a player I definitely want us to sign. Hopefully that deal develops, and you know, over the next week or so, we can get him, you know, over the line. In terms of Sergio Gomez, I'm not going to comment too much because, to be honest, I didn't really know who he was. So I know he's a player that you've liked. I remember you telling me about him in the past. I thought I'd leave that one to you. So yeah. But at the end of the day, like I said, I've said this throughout this window. This is the first time in a long time that I can say that I kind of, you know, I trust the judgment of Mikel Arteta and Edu. There were even times, I'll say, even under Arsene Wenger, for all these great signings, you know, there were times when I really questioned some of the players that he bought. And the same could be said for Arteta. I'm not saying it isn't. You know, obviously he did buy Willian. You know, Nuno Tavares it's not been great since he's come. But to be honest, when you look at the vast majority of Mikel Arteta's signings and Edu signings, they have been, you know, they've been more positive, and the positive massively outweigh the negative in terms of the signing. So I do feel like they have earned our trust to a certain extent. So that's why I'm kind of relaxed, you know. Whoever they're targeting,
I am as well.
I'm happy for them to come, and I'm happy to see what they can do. That's why I'm excited about the likes of Marquinhos and Vieira, because I didn't know who Marquinhos was. I didn't know who Vieira was. But having looked into them and spoken to people, you know, who either, you know, not so much Marquinhos, but Portuguese people that watch the Portuguese league, you know, either Porto fans or Sporting fans, the things they've said to me about this guy and how good he is, the clips I've watched, etc. But the fact that I trust them in terms of what they're doing in the transfer market is making me excited about watching players that I know very little about, because I just feel as though they know what they're doing and we're going to be pleasantly surprised. So I just wish all Arsenal fans were just a little bit more positive when it comes to the transfer market. But yeah, we've got a couple of comments here. So we've got Gary here. Not sure if you mentioned otherwise, but Partey started over 22 matches each for the 3 seasons before he joined Arsenal. Yeah, it's something that he's massively become, you know, injury prone, you know, since he joined Arsenal. And I think it's something, you know, Bobby touched upon. Not so much, you know, kind of adapting to the Premier League, but more the physical, not the technical side of it, but the physical side of it. Because yeah, he had a near perfect injury record before he came, and all of a sudden now he seems like he's made out of glass. Let's hope this is the season where he can stay fit. Not sure Arsenal have a system that works for non-Premier League players who aren't considered top players. Partey needed no time. Odegaard needed time. That's an interesting one. Maybe one we'll come back to another time. Gary, Ramsdale and White started basically immediately. That's true. Zinchenko seems like Ramsdale pick up last summer. Talk early of the window, then it died down and it's back on 100%. It's definitely following a similar trend. to that transfer. Big Mike saying, if Zinchenko is not going to be our number 8, why would he leave City as a squad player to be our squad player? Or is he coming to take Tierney's spot? And that's what I was saying. I was saying that, do you know what I mean? We've it's been reported that, you know, he wants game time and he also enjoys playing in the middle. So for me, that's why I said, for me, he can dislodge KT. So for me, he's either coming to dislodge KT or to play a pivotal role as a number 8, which kind of leaves it open to what happens with that number 8 position. But I guess, you know, time will tell. But I agree, Big Mike. I don't think he's coming here to be a super sub, which is what he's doing basically at Man City. Ellie here saying he don't take KT's spot for me, but great rotation in the position may help KT not overdo it and prevent injury. KT has to play for me. If he's fit, he's a proper leader. Completely agree. I think KT's phenomenal. I think too many Arsenal fans, you know, do have a negative opinion on him based on his injuries, but you know, he's one of the first names on the team sheet, and I completely agree. I'm just thinking more about the thinking behind the Zinchenko deal. I'm just thinking, like, why is this guy going to leave, as Big Mike said, why is he going to leave City as a squad player to come to us for a squad player? Like, I'm not sure that's what he's primarily looking for. Last comment before we move on to our last bit of action for tonight. We was linked with Dest last season. Would have thought we would have linked with him. Can play left back and right back. Hasn't he signed for Leeds, Sergio Dest? Was it him that signed for Leeds?
Not sure.
I'd have to look that one out. I'm sure Leeds signed him or somebody signed him, but yeah, I'll have to look.
Leeds signed Tyler Adams from.
That's it. Yeah, that's the one.
From Leipzig.
The one. Yeah, that's the one. Right. So the last point we're going to get onto tonight's show, and I'm not going to lie. You know, this is another player that excites me. I have to be honest, and it's another. I tell you what's so funny. Since we've been heavily linked with this guy today, you know, the reports have come out, and I've got to stress, it's not Orny, it's not Fab. There are some, you know, kind of smaller, you know, particularly, you know, media outlets in France, media outlets in Brazil, heavily linking us with this player, basically saying that he's unhappy at Lyon, basically because the director of football, Janino, who brought him to the club, left in January, and since then, him and the relationship with the club has not been great. The rumors are he wants to leave. There are also rumors that Newcastle want to bring him and partner him up with Ramirez in the middle. But according to reports, if Arsenal were in for him, he would choose Arsenal over Newcastle, obviously. And the last bit of news was that it's reported that we're readying a €50 million euro bid, so about 42 to 45 million pounds for him. What are your thoughts on him as a player? And would you be happy for us to obviously, you know, fork out, you know, 50 million euro to bring him to the carpet?
Yeah, 100%. Quality player. You know, I watch Lyon. Well, I watch the French league quite a lot, to be fair. So I like Lyon. They got nice stadium, nice fans. Always been a good club. You know, it's always them and Saint Etienne, good games to watch. And they've got you remember Dembele from Celtic?
Yes, the striker. Yeah,
they've got him up front. He's quite big and immobile, but they've got kind of Lucas Paqueta. It's kind of like the support striker. And he just basically just does what he wants, but he pops up everywhere. He pops up in his own box, winning headers. He makes loads of slide tackles. He's one of them players always in people's faces. Fantastic individual ability. Scores with both feet. All different types of goals. Different kind of techie kind of goals. Scrappy goals. Plays on the edge. He's one of those kind of players. I think he's the type of player that doesn't really strike me as a Mikel Arteta type of player.
I've heard that as well.
Looking at the characters that he signs, but you know, remember I said that I thought that this squad needed a Richarlison type. And I think Lucas Paqueta could kind of be that person. But I don't know. Maybe Gabriel Jesus is that guy. You know, he's got a bit of an edge to him, hasn't he? So maybe he's going to be the only type of player that we acquire that's got an edge.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll be all over the Lucas Paqueta signing. That would be again, it'd be another one that elevates us. I think he's one of them that he could play anywhere across the front. So I think he could play up front as well as a striker.
Yeah.
I think he could play left, right, and I think he could play Odegaard's position, and I think he could play the 8.
Yeah.
Because I see him doing a lot of defending. So yeah, man, I'm all for that signing, 100%. But like the Savage signing, like a lot of other signings that I've really wanted, I can't see it happen.
We just keep calm in it. We keep calm. We keep calm.
Yeah,
you know what though? It's funny because like I think Arsenal fans would just argue. I think they just argue with themselves if they could, argue with their own shadow because it's crazy. You know, you get linked with a player like Lucas Paqueta, and all I see on the timeline is fans arguing about. He's not a winger. He's not a striker. He's not an A. He's a DM. He's a box to box. He's this. And I'm thinking to myself, you're all right. It's like you're arguing about where he plays. And when I'm looking at your arguments, I'm like, I actually, since we've been linked, I've tracked him back from his time in Brazil to his time at Milan to his time at Lyon. And he's basically played in almost every position from midfield to up top, like you said. He can play out wide on both wings. He can play as a false 9. He plays as a box-to-box, a DM, a number 8. Like, he can play in all these roles.
Do you remember what's the name bought him? I think it was from Roma, wasn't it? Didn't they get him from Roma, Leon?
Was it Roma or Milan? I'm not sure. I think it was Milan.
It's one of them clubs anyway. But they got him because that was when they were linked with selling Aouar. And Aouar's a number 8, isn't he? He's like a box-to-box midfielder. So, and he was kind of like billed as the Aouar replacement. When he came in, he was kind of playing that role straight away. He was like he was in the 8 because they had Guimaraes as well, and they had Correct, and them 3 were kind of like playing in the 3. But then also sometimes Aouar would come in, and he would, if they were losing in a game, Aouar would come off the bench and he would play in one of the either side of Dembele or just behind Dembele. So he's definitely played all over the pitch, and he could do any kind of job. So I could see him doing a lot of jobs for Arsenal.
100%. And you know what? It poses the question because we've been heavily linked with Zinchenko today. Obviously, Ornstein has tweeted it. Huge links with Paqueta, even though it hasn't come from reliable Fabrizio or Ornstein yet. But when you look at those two players, it's actually quite clever if we were to secure those two players because you're buying Zinchenko, obviously a player that can play in 2 positions quite comfortably, and you're buying Paqueta who can play in 5 or 6 positions. Exactly. So it makes a lot of sense. You're buying 2 players really that if you were to singly try and fill those holes in that squad, you'd probably have to buy maybe 4 to 5 players. Exactly. So it makes a lot of sense. I would be absolutely gassed if we buy Zinchenko and Paqueta. Absolutely, because I think they are both phenomenally gifted footballers. And when you look at the type of football we want to play, they've got that swagger, they've got that kind of technical ability. And for me, it's the versatility that they offer. A lot of players, look how useful has that been in the past, when we've looked at Saka, when we've had a problem, we play him wing back, right, left, up front. He's played as an 8, played as a 10. It's so invaluable when you have a player that can do you know what I mean? So yeah, I really, really hope that there is more to the Paqueta rumours. And yeah, if I was going to take, 2, if you were to say to me right now, 2 more players between now and the end of the window, and Arsenal went on to sign Zinchenko, Paqueta, I'd be a happy man. I would be. Just the last thing, while I go through obviously some of these comments, I just want you to have a think. I'll go through these comments, and the question I'm going to pose to you is a bit of a prediction. How many players do you see Arsenal signing between now and the end of the window? I'll go through these comments and then I'll come back to you, Bobby. So we've got, where are we? Comments. Wow, they've been coming in. No, that's not Big Mike's. Yes, Big Mike's confirmed it. Yeah, it was Tyler Adams. I don't know why I was getting confused with Dest. Thank you for that, Big Mike's. Tyler saying, for me, when we link with Leicester and Lyon players, they always try and milk us for every penny, make it hard for us. Exactly. That's probably why the Tillemans deal is stalling, because by all accounts, we are still in for him. Big Mike's, Bobby, what's his best position and where do you see him starting for us? He don't blow me away. I'm not sure. I think you're talking about Paqueta, but obviously do let me know.
I,
Yeah.
I think he'd start for us in the 8. I think if Partey was fit, the strongest lineup would be him next to Odegaard, next to Martinelli.
Yeah.
He'd be making late runs into the box where he'd be because Jesus is one of those strikers that could drop deep.
Because he plays the 8 for Brazil, doesn't he?
Plays 8 for Brazil as well. Yeah, he would attack the space that Gabriel like what Lacazette did last season.
Yeah.
If he wasn't there, if Jesus wasn't there, if he'd like dropped deep and went off to go do stuff, bounce a couple man or whatever, do a couple of lollipops and that, then Paqueta would be that man that would go and fill in the box, and he'd be able to finish off, he'd be able to do stuff. So yeah, he could. But who knows with Mikel Arteta? Who knows what his plans are?
No idea.
You never know. He probably get him and play him left back.
Tyler here said, also quite surprised we haven't been linked with Our. Was heavily linked last season and thought he would be good. Number 8. I've actually seen a tweet tonight. I think Fabrizio tweeted to say that Real Betis are pushing to sign him. So yeah, he might not be at Lyon for too much longer. D Dubs, wicked. Thank you for joining us. Friends rated him highly at AC Milan. D Dubs also saying friends rated him highly at AC Milan and were calling for him to be signed a few years ago. Lyon has been good for him. I'd love the signing, 100%. I think, we all unanimous with that. Arsenal need to sign 3 more players, but I fear it will be 2. Stephen, very on Cannon Chatter member, saying here 4 is what we need. And Gary saying, I fear 1, but find it hard to write that laugh out loud. So yeah, I'll come to you, Bobby, for the last thought on tonight. How many players will we sign between now? First of all, well, how many signings do you think we'll make, and how many signings do you want us to make before the end of the transfer window?
I think that we'll make another 3. I want us to make. I mean, personally, I want us to make another 3. I like the idea of having a small hybrid squad of young good players, hungry, all fighting for positions, or all realizing what the bigger picture is, that they're going to grow and get better together. So for me, if it was my money, it was my club, I'd go out and I'd buy someone like Cody Gakpo, who can play 9, who can play wing, who can play across the front 3. I'd then also buy someone like a Lucas Paqueta or a Tillemans, someone like that who can play in the 8, who could also cover Odegaard, but then could also play support striker. I know Tillemans probably couldn't play that, but I think he probably could have played in the 10. I probably think he could play attacking midfielder. He's got those feet. And then I want a different kind of profile at right back. I mean, obviously, this is assuming that we get a Zinchenko or Sergio Gomez, someone to cover there. But if Norton Coffey's going to go out on loan, that just means that we're just going to be left with Cedric and Tomiyasu, who's also been quite injured last year. I think Kieran Tierney actually played more games than Tomiyasu last season. So
Stephen calls him two-game Tommy.
Exactly. Well, there you go. So I think we've got our 2 first choice left and right backs. As good as they are, they're not reliable. So I want someone else as good as Tommy. Who knows whether Saliba could come in and probably do that job anyway, because he does kind of play right side sometimes. But I like the idea of Saliba backing up White and and Holding backing up Gabriel. But yeah, I do definitely think that we need to get another cover defender.
Cool. Sweet. Thank you. Yeah, so that pretty much wraps up episode 7 of the Rumour Mill. We will be back should be next Wednesday, but obviously stay tuned for more details. If for whatever reason you haven't liked tonight's stream, please do like it. If for whatever strange reason you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do also subscribe to the channel. And yeah, hopefully, between now and obviously next week's show, there will be a friendly in between. I believe it's early hours of Sunday morning. We will be playing our first preseason friendly in our US tour. So we'll probably have that to talk about in next week's show, and hopefully some more rumors, but hopefully some more signings. If not over the line, but close to being over the line. But yeah, any last words from you, Bobby, before we wrap things up?
No, man, I'm just, as I said, I'm just on party vibes, man. The weather's lovely. The sun's still shining outside, as you can see. So I'm going to go and pour myself some more rum and
Wicked.
have a nice evening. You know what I'm saying?
100%. And you know what? On that note, until next week, keep chatting, people. Take it easy.
Thanks, man. Take it easy, guys.